Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief brought to you by Lay of the Land. How are you guys doing? I think this is the question that we in Israel are asking ourselves all the time as we try and stumble through dealing with what has happened over the last 5 days. Yesterday, when I gave you the news updates during a barrage of rockets on Israel's center, which, by the way, rocket fire is still continuing into southern and central Israel. We've also had some anti-tank missiles fired towards our positions in the north as well. The IAF have struck Hezbollah targets in Lebanon as well. So on the south and on the north, things are very, very heated. Yesterday, when I spoke to you, I made mention that the IDF had allowed the foreign press, or what we call legacy press, into Kibbutz Kfar Aza to see for themselves the extent of the massacre. Now, Israel's army is clearing kibbutz by kibbutz, community by community, and only now we are learning the full extent of the carnage, and the news just gets progressively more unbearable. Yesterday, when I broke the news, I'd mentioned that Israeli babies were murdered, some of them beheaded. And when I told you about that, I actually couldn't fathom it. I thought, this can't be true, that this must be from a horror movie. But it is true, because journalists and IDF and those present saw for themselves. Kfar Aza, a tiny little kibbutz, peaceful, charming, where lives were just snuffed out. On that kibbutz alone, 40 babies, some of them beheaded. It's unfathomable what we are dealing with. Just a short while ago, the army released the first images coming in from kibbutz Be'eri. Homes have been burnt out, destroyed, and I struggle to comprehend what we are going to be hearing from Be'eri in the next couple of hours. This is a human tragedy absolutely unprecedented, the darkest hour for the state of Israel. The latest stats that we have from the IDF and the Ministry of Health are as follows. 1,200 Israelis and counting have been murdered. Now, the reason why the number jumps from 300 to 500 to 700 to now 1,200 is that because we've now secured those southern towns and communities, the army is now able to go in, and with the help of organizations like Zaka, Magen David Adom, and whoever else is responsible for the recovery of these bodies, are able to extract them and count them, identify them, and release them for burial purposes. I just want to make mention of animal rescue services, who are also going down south under tremendous stress and tension, and collecting the abandoned, terrified, traumatized pets. Yes, Hamas in their brutality murdered people's pets as well, something that is just, it describes to you the nature of the monster that we are dealing with. 170 soldiers have fallen in battle. 150 to 200 Israelis as well as foreign nationals are still being held hostage by Hamas. We know at least 17 Britons amongst the missing and the dead, 18 from Thailand amongst the missing and the dead, 1 from China, 7 from Argentina, I think at last count 14 from the United States. This is not just an Israeli tragedy. This is a tragedy for civilization. And over 3,000 people have been wounded, at least 300 of them in serious or critical condition. These numbers are expected to climb. A huge thank you to the thousands who are out there donating blood. So some of the latest developments over the last 24 hours, Israel continues to strike Hamas targets in the Gaza Strip. Israel has killed at least 2 Hamas officials, one being the finance minister. We have also eliminated their sources for Bitcoin currency and have eliminated their air surveillance systems. They actually place camera in the solar water tanks on the tops of their buildings. Those have been demolished. Israel has recommended that civilians in Gaza get to safer areas. Now, our mission in Geneva has exposed how a Hamas social media site has actually said to the citizens of Gaza, don't listen to the Israeli army, or don't listen to the Israelis, whatever they want to call us. They are lying to you. We're not lying to them. Our core function is to root Hamas out, root and stem forever, but mitigate as many civilian casualties as humanly possible. I mentioned earlier that we had struck Hezbollah targets in the south of Lebanon in response for anti-tank missiles that had been fired at our tanks. We also had some shots fired from Syria last night, and we have struck targets there as well. Last night, in a speech, apps that for me recalled the words of a Churchill, US President Biden, accompanied by Secretary of State Blinken and Vice President Kamala Harris, spoke to the people of America, but I think he was actually speaking more to the people of Israel, where he reaffirmed the United States' absolute and unwavering commitment to Israel, the US's support of Israel. This is not just words. This has been backed by true deeds in the form of the USS Gerald Ford, which has reached our shores now with a significant amount of fighter jets and military hardware on board. The United States have made very, very clear to Iran and to other terror organizations not to tempt them. The British Foreign Secretary James Cleverly is expected to land in Israel later today. I also want to thank the people of the United Kingdom, the government of the United Kingdom, for their absolute unwavering commitment to Israel. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, speaking to NATO earlier today, implored world leaders to visit Israel and show solidarity. We are very grateful to President Zelensky. We've had quite a complicated year or so, as you know, we've had to navigate our security threats and also wanting to help Ukraine. But the commitment and the words of President Zelensky are extremely, extremely appreciated. And solidarity continues to grow around the world, with most civilized countries absolutely horrified and condemning the events of the last couple of days. Countries like South Africa, unfortunately, have chosen to side with the side of barbarians. This has been an attack on Israel unprecedented in barbarity. As women, and I want to especially speak to the women out there, rape has been used as a tool of war, and in a short interrogation clip that has been shared by Israel's security of a captured terrorist, they asked him, why did you take the woman? What did you want to do with the woman? And his response was, we wanted to dirty them. We wanted to dirty them. Israel has been warning the world for years about the nature of Hamas. And what starts with us does not stop with us. Many of you have seen in your cities their supporters and the type of hate that is spewed out of their mouths. This is not about ending occupations or liberations of Palestine. This is one specific goal, the eradication of the Jewish state, and then we'll see who we'll move on to next. It is very, very frightening. Which is why your solidarity and your support, which has been so vocal in these last couple of days, is so appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen who are watching, as Israel intensifies our military campaign in Gaza, some of the images that will come in from Gaza will also be distressing. We hope that you will still continue to stand with the state of Israel and understand that as part of our moral code, our ethical code of the fighting warriors of the IDF, we obey the laws of war. And we do not, under all circumstances, want to kill civilians. This is not what we want. The IDF warns through roof knocking, through pamphlets, and as I said earlier on, imploring civilians to get out of areas that are very, very dense and are likely to be targeted. Please keep that in mind as we progress through what will be a very, very painful and brutal war. And in my closing arguments, because many of you have been asking about the internal political situation inside the country, we have news confirmed by Hebrew media just a short while ago that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the leader of the National Unity Party, which sits in the opposition, Benny Gantz, are close to a deal on a national emergency unity government, and hopefully that shall be implemented soon. Some of you have asked about Arab Israelis, how they are feeling, how they are responding. They are also hurting. They are also in pain. They also have been targeted by Hamas. Hamas did not stop on Saturday morning to consider who was Jewish, who was Christian, who was Muslim, who was Arab, who was Bedouin, who was foreign. They mowed at everything and everyone in sight. Israeli Arabs have been showing their solidarity. Earlier today, National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir took heavy criticism from members of the government, where he said we could have an uprising within Arab Israeli communities. Our Minister of Diaspora Affairs, Minister Shikhli, was very quick to say we have Bedouin communities, we have Arab communities who have been hurt and who have lost people too. Israel as a nation, Jew, Muslim, and Christian, right now are absolutely united. I will end my broadcast with some positive news. Last night, the people of Israel, and in particular of the city of Ashkelon, at 9 o'clock and under heavy rocket fire, stood on their balconies and sang Hatikva. Hatikva is the national anthem of Israel. It means the hope. If that is not Israeli resilience, I don't know what is. To all those Israelis out there who are packing parcels for our soldiers, donating blood, donating to organizations, visiting wounded soldiers, visiting the survivors of the massacre on Saturday, supporting each other, donating clothes, looking after animals, doing whatever you can, you are magnificent. And you are the soul and the spirit of this country. And together we will win. I'm Rolly Marks. This is the Israel Brief.